Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. This afternoon, I'm joined by Kate Strong, who's a former triathlete world champion and also a leadership coach. And we're going to have a chat about business, entrepreneurialism, and all the rest of that. How are you doing today, Kate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. And I suppose the first place I usually start with people is how has the lockdown been for them? And what have they done to pivot, if anything, during that situation?
For me, on a professional note, lockdown didn't really impact my business that much. If anything, it actually allowed me to grow my company. So for the last few years, I've been moving quite a bit of my services to be accessible online. So I was, if you wanted, a great position to leverage through lockdown. But on a personal note, at the beginning of the year, I completely went nomadic. So I had no home and I was traveling the UK. So within a couple of weeks, I had to find a new base. And so that opened up a conversation with my partner. And we were talking about moving in together, but accelerated it. So at least I had a home through lockdown. So yeah, business was fine. Personal life was in a little bit of disarray, but it worked out for the best in the long run.
So you had a big deal and a big negotiation that you had to do in order to get yourself a bit of a home for a while.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it, but not until about July, August time. So yeah, we just accelerated it, as I said, and it was my birthday, so I said we could say it was an early birthday present.
Brilliant. And how was that transition? Has that gone well?
Amazingly overall, but for lockdown, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I went from living anywhere I wanted in nature and traveling a lot to a 2-bedroom flat with, at the time, his 2 teenage sons with no garden. So I did notice that my fuse was a little shorter. It felt like I had a lot more in my head going on all the time, so I needed more downtime. So I just gave myself some more space, took off a few things off my to-do list and gave myself some more days off and managed it that way. But I did feel emotionally I was definitely getting a bit triggered quicker than I would have normally.
Yeah. Do you think, because are you Australian originally?
I'm Welsh,
Well,
but
you're
I do
Welsh
have the British
originally.
passport.
Okay, and you chose, obviously, when you competed for Australia.
I did, but I did ask for Britain. So I did a triathlon in Australia and won it. So it's my 4th ever triathlon. So I was national champion for Australia. And so I wrote to Britain and said, can I compete for you in the World Championships? And they said no. So I went on and competed for Australia and won that World Championships. So I was now world champion. So I wrote back to the UK and said, now can I compete for you? And they still said no. So I just stuck with Australia.
Fair enough. So I knew there was the Aussie-Welsh connection, but I didn't know which way round it was, if you like.
Yeah.
But so tell us a little bit more about the Kate Strong prior to the leadership consultant and all of that, the Kate Strong that competed and was triathlete and all of that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I am Welsh. I'm from Pontypridd, born into a beautiful family, but quite a normal one from the outset. So for me, there wasn't really any impetus to sort of fight against. If usually we wait for something to trigger us to sort of right that wrong, I didn't have anything really to push against. So my life was comfortable. I went to university. I studied engineering, so I worked in aerospace and engineering for some time. And yeah, I was just sort of drifting and cruising, never stepping out too high, but also never getting too low to feel the pain to actually do something about it. So it was when I moved to Australia that my partner, who was also Welsh, of 9 years, he broke up with me 6 days before our wedding and decided to leave me in quite a bit of debt as well. So we owned a business and he just walked away from all responsibilities. And I think during that times when I sort of realized I could either pretty much roll over and let life do what it wanted to me, or I could start stepping up and creating the life I wanted. I've been living far too long, waiting for that perfect time. When we have more income, when I have more time, when I'm in a better position, when I know the market better, when I've done yet another course, then I can go ahead and do what I wanted to. And I realized that perfect time was never going to happen. So I just sort of drew a line in the sand and said, well, today is the youngest I'll ever be. I'm never going to know more than I do today as well. So this is the perfect time. I won't have tomorrow. Yesterday's already gone. Today, do something for you, Kate, like do something for me. And so that's when I started to take up triathlon. But I also started to step up in my business too, because I realized throughout the time with my partner, I started to believe him when he said, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a little girl. You know, you've got this wrong again. And all of those little comments, I started to undermine my ability and my self-belief. So, you know, when we broke up, I had to step up. I had to be resourceful and find ways to run a business and also train for triathlon, because that was now my new passion. So yeah, it was a very tough time, but you know, diamonds are formed in that high pressure too. So I think I needed that pressure in order for me to find how deep I could actually dig. And you know, touch wood, I came out stronger for it. Excuse the pun, for us both. And learned how to manage a failing business to transform it into a successful one to pay off the debts. But, you know, I also became world champion, which is crazy when I look back at it, but I'm so grateful for that journey as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's, do you think, you know, the balance of running a business and training for triathlon, because I'm doing a similar sort of balance at the moment. I'm not training to compete in anything, but I'm training to get fit and exercise, etc. But do you find that worked better because you were in Australia and therefore you didn't have the distractions of home and family and friends and all of that?
Yes and no. You know, I love my family, but you're right. I mean, I didn't have to see them every Sunday for our cooked lunch, and I didn't have to, you know, pick up the phone as much because of the time zones. But on the other hand, I didn't have them to cook the meals and put it in the freezer, or lean on me, you know, lean on them to maybe do the washing now and then, or do the gardening. So I think it's a two-edged sword. The one thing I would say Australia is amazing for is I never had to think about the weather. You know, 9 times out of 10, I just got up and did it. It might have been cold, but it invariably wasn't raining. So that was one plus that I definitely
it's
had.
a lot easier to go out for a run or a ride when it's not raining. Mentally, like,
yeah,
you know, it's an easier decision.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, now I do indoor cycling, so it's not like that impacts the weather either.
No. Go
on, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm doing a challenge at the moment called 75 Hard, and I've got to get out and do one exercise a day outside and one a day inside for 45 minutes a time. And
Wow.
I used to be a fair weather rider, but you know, when you're in the Welsh valleys, I'm in Gwent, so you know, not a million miles away from Pontypridd, similar sort of climate. And when you don't want to go out because you've been looking at the rain all day, you've been thinking, please stop, please stop, please stop. And then it's getting to 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night, and you're thinking, if I don't go now, you know, I can't do my challenge, so I got to go. And then you're actually getting battered down by the rain. You know, it's a different process, like, you know. But
it is. But you're getting stronger for that. Those are the moments that make you. It's not when it's sunny, because anyone can cycle when it's sunny. It's when it's terrible weather, and if it's horizontal or vertical, that's when you sort of come back and feel like I did something. That's amazing.
Exactly, that's the achievement thing, and this is a mental toughness challenge, not a fitness challenge. It just uses fitness and lots of other things for it. But yeah, it is that is when your brain says to yourself, "Why are you doing this?" And you say, "Well, because I can," you know.
Yeah.
But so that's fantastic, and
I love it. Yeah.
So carry on with your story about so what happened after winning the world champion then?
Well, nothing much. I literally went back to work. You know, I was owning a guest house. So I went back to serving clients, and most of them didn't know that I did what I did in China. But eventually I did sell my business, and I decided to come back to Europe. I had 5 world championships that year, so I qualified for different distances, and it made sense to be based in Britain. And I think I missed it. You know, Australia is a wonderful place, but for me, for entrepreneurship, there's something about Britain that people are always looking for the next hustle. We're much more open to diversity and, you know, supporting the underdog. I didn't feel that as much in Australia. So I knew that here was where I wanted to be to start growing my consulting business. So, you know, by that time, people were asking me how I did things, and I realized that I could start monetizing the answer, the how. And that's how I sort of fell into consulting, was by, you know, offering people what they wanted.
Okay, so you didn't get the what I would class as a little bit of an easier leg up from winning something, getting that notoriety from that, getting the speaking gig for the after dinner speaking or the motivational speaking, and then transferring that over time into the education, business, and that type of stuff, which is, I think that's it's not an easy leg up. You still got to make the most of the opportunity, but it's just sometimes transition into a business can be easier when you've got a profile. But you didn't actually use your profile, if you like. You just had to start a business consulting from the start, like everyone else has to.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's always two sides to every coin, so we can always look at these high profile, amazing athletes and think they've got it easy. But sometimes when we look at them with their gold medals or their awards, we don't offer for help, or we just assume they're doing fine. But there are also lots of charities out there supporting retiring athletes because there is no support, because people assume they're doing fine. We don't even ask how they are. Like in America, one of the highest percentage of suicides are actually ex-pro football players, which is because they just can't cope afterwards. So, when I wasn't world champion anymore, I did struggle quite a lot with my identity, and I realized I got attached to that gold medal as part of me. So when I didn't have it anymore, I lost a little bit of myself, which isn't really very healthy. But we do that a lot with job titles as well. So when we retire, I see with people who are getting out of the work industry, they don't know who they are because they've been a solicitor or a lawyer for so long. When they're not that anymore, they don't know how to address themselves. So I think it's really important we remember that I'm Kate Strong first and foremost. I just happen to do triathlon now and then, and sometimes I do it well, other times less so.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's usually the athletes that struggle are the ones who either got addictions or something. They go off into things they shouldn't be doing to fill up their time, or they don't know what to do, so they end up not doing anything. But at least if you put that energy and that, following the process and being coached and all those sort of things into another vehicle. So, first of all, you're chasing for a title, but then you're chasing for, business success or recognition in the workplace. Then I think that, that's why I believe all sports people should be educated in some sort of entrepreneurial path, whether it be, speaking or coaching or giving back, building a business, coming up with something. Because if they're left to your own devices, like most of us, we end up, into a lot of trouble if we're not focusing on something.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that word purpose is really, people are using it and seeing it a lot more in lockdown. A lot of the clients I'm working with are actually asking to pause and really reflect on who their business really is. And that comes down to individuals as well. Like, what legacy do you want to leave at the end? Why do we do what we do? What's our driving force? Because that will help us overcome any challenge that comes up, because there's a bigger reason. It's not just because I'm doing it for the moment.
Yeah, definitely having a mission and clear vision and knowing where your values lie.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously then, so you come back to the UK, you started your business, and when was that? What year was that?
I'd say end of 2015. Well, 2016 is when I started my business. So yeah.
Yeah, 2016. So you've been doing that for a couple of years. I know you do a bit of speaking, and have you got a podcast as well? I think you got a podcast.
I've got a podcast called Strong Voice, and I'm just positioning it at the moment. I'm doing world records at the end of this year, and so I'm sort of following my path a little bit along that journey as well. So I'm hoping to expose the lows as well as the highs, because I think a lot of people hear about, as I said, the gold medals or the climbing a high mountain, but we forget about the shadows and the darkness that we had to travel through to get there. So I really want to make sure I keep it as real as possible, so people can get inspired over the problems and obstacles that I'm facing, as much as, wow, look at what she's doing.
Yeah. Okay. So, so obviously, speaking, podcasting, coaching, doing all of that. What's the sort of big plan? Have you got a big target that you're looking to try and achieve, or just carry on doing what you're doing, or what?
In business, I'm actually looking for more collaborative work at the moment, such as sponsors or like executive directorship positions, because in 2022, which I know is 2 years away, but it'll sneak up on us like nobody's business, I'm attempting something that no female's ever done. So I'm cycling for 3,000 miles across America, coast to coast, and then swimming the English Channel, and then traveling to Nepal and climbing Everest. So that'll be 10 months of epic adventure. And for that, I'd love to get some, businesses and communities all involved to inspire the next generation of leaders and demonstrate that we can really remove the glass ceiling off all our potential. And I'm using this challenge as a way to do it.
Brilliant. So that's like a triathlon on steroids, if you like. It's a super triathlon. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And so that's what the focus is. Is that what the training right now is on, or are you training right now for something else?
Yeah, this is what I'm training for. I mean, I'm doing a world record at the end of this year, but it's mostly for practice for the big one in 2 years' time. So I'm going to be doing 24 hours on a static bicycle non-stop. So I'm aiming to do, I don't know what it is in miles, but it's 800 kilometers. So I don't know, 500 miles or something.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a contact, actually, which I should introduce you to. His name is Dave Brown. He's from Ireland, and he's got 2 world records. One is the longest guitar playing solo ever, and the other one they done recently, which was 60 gigs in 50 states in 40 days. And the previous record was 50 in 50 in 50. Yeah, and they actually filmed it, so they got a documentary film at the moment that's on Amazon, which you can download for free, and it records the whole road trip, the 40 days. I think it's 35 days, but for some reason they always say 40. But yeah, so you want to check out. He's based in Vegas, but you might be able to get a bit of publicity or some connections or whatever, especially as you're going coast to coast in America, and you could probably exchange some training stories or whatever. But I was just going to say to you, have you thought about, are you planning on filming it or turning it into a film or a documentary or anything like that?
Yeah, I am. A uni friend of mine and I, we're teaming up together. We're going to make a documentary. We're doing one at the moment for the 24-hour cycle, and we wanted to talk about the inequality in sport. Because, like, for example, the cycle race in America, only 18% of them are female, and most people who ride are white as well. So we just wanted to use that platform as a way to talk about equality, and also equality in business, because I don't think a lot of us realise the unconscious bias that runs in sport as well as in business. So we just wanted to use that platform as to open up that conversation. So we're just about in the early stages of creating that documentary. Neither of us know really what we're doing, but we're learning on the job, and I'm sure it'll be great fun. And yet another learning skill. It's meet your mates and maybe follow me and play the bands, because I'll need some distraction.
Yeah, definitely. Or he could record. I know he's done. He recorded some music for a UFC fight featuring Conor McGregor and Nick Diaz. So he might be able to do something where he could record some music to keep you along your journey, something like that. So there's always some sort of angle. But I noticed a post of yours on LinkedIn the other day where you were talking about, I think it was Black Lives Matter and diversity in sports. Saying something like, it's not your job to solve it, or something like that. I can't remember the exact post. But obviously, so diversity is an issue you care about. I think I've seen something before. The sports like cycling, rowing, etc., are always very white and Western dominated. And I think it's because a lot of the sort of African countries or whatever can't afford the equipment, they can't afford the bikes and the boats, and they haven't got nowhere to row and all of these sort of places. So I think that probably accounts for the lack of diversity in some sports, etc. But I think for cycling, there should definitely be more of a mix of nations and things like the Tour de France and whatever. You don't see many black riders in any of that. So what's your thoughts on diversity in sport and that?
Yeah, I mean, diversity anyway. I mean, it's a huge topic, because it was really close to my heart, and I didn't realise how deep it was. So I've been speaking to a lot of professors and lecturers in the field. I'm meeting the first French black Tour de France cyclist as well, and he only cycled in 2017, so it's not very long ago that there was an all-white sport in quite a linked to Africa country. So I think there's a lot of biases we just don't realise you and me are even feeding, and it's not because we're racist, definitely not, and it's not because we don't care, we just don't know. We're built into a world that supports being white, being man, and we just can't see these biases that are leaning towards authority figures being white men, dominant positions being held by whites as well. So yeah, I'm very interested on a personal note to sort of read a bit more about how I can unpick what I do myself. I mean, a simple example, my best friend's Jamaican, she can't go to the same hairdresser as me because they don't know how to deal with her hair. So in that level, she's already been ostracized that she can't choose where she goes to have her haircut, which is a very simple, superficial example, but it is everywhere we're going. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning about this and seeing how I can also help us increase our education and open it up to more sectors and the world, so they can choose if they want to cycle or not, or they can choose where they go or not.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that people have the right role models, and it started happening on TV, if you like. But all of the people, this is why Barack Obama was such a big thing when he became president, because it takes somebody to do something and achieve something before other people can believe they can achieve it too. And so that was like one of the big, glass ceilings sort of broken through. And I think the future generations are going to get better at this, the diversification, etc. I think this is happening big now, and it's going to, it's going to change a lot of systems, but it'll still be, still be imbalanced for a while. But I think as generations keep going, it's getting better and better all of the time. It's just, things I seen a debate on the telly the other day about an artist who painted a black Jesus, for example, and the chances are Jesus was probably more darker than whiter anyway, coming from the Middle East, if you're into all of that. Yeah, and the thing is like, ultimately, whether you believe in Jesus or not, or God or not, the image we portray of him can be anything really, because it's down to our own sort of minds and creativity on what we want to envisage it to be. Just like in spirituality, whether somebody wants to believe a religion, a God, the universe, whatever they want to believe, it's up to them. It's their own thought process, isn't it? And I think, we for so long, I suppose, because we run the establishment and therefore the press, the books, all of that sort of stuff. I think, the story was written in a certain way, and it just needs to be told and retold and reimagined in all of the different ways that it can be told and retold and reimagined. And I think, that's my thought process on that anyway. So a bit deep for a podcast and a YouTube, but I think of the now, so worthwhile commenting on. And because it's something that you cared about as well, I thought I'd give my 2 pence in it as well.
Yeah, I think what you said is really valid, and we do need to see more diverse role models, so that we can all, any colour, any creed, any personality, any ability as well. And, people are represented for every level, so we can all imagine ourselves as that superhero. So yeah, I think it's really important, as you said, to make sure that we have that spectrum of personalities and people we can aspire to look up to.
Yeah, I think what would be actually good in the sporting world is do what they did in London 2012 for a few years beforehand, and go around trying to find the best black cyclist, the best black rower, the best black, whatever. And not because ultimately they may not be as good as their white partners to start with, because it's a new sport and they haven't got that genetic and history, etc. But it would just help diversify the sport, bring more people in, widen it, etc., which I think would be great for all sports longer term. It's making all sports inclusive to everybody.
Yeah, that's the key. We want everyone to choose what they do, and the colour not to even be an element of reasons why they can't do it. So yeah, so I'm really excited, because you're right, it is quite a deep topic, and I could easily just sort of focus on the cycling. But I think as a duty, if I want to change the world for the better, if I want to eradicate racism, if I want to make sure it's open to all females as well, then I need to stand up and share this, because it is big news, especially nowadays, and we have the right, and we can make that change. So yeah, now's the time definitely to act on this.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously my podcast and the YouTube, they go out globally, and my numbers are going up all the time. I used to get sort of 30 listens a day, and I'm regularly getting over 100 now. So it's really accelerating and ramping up. So that's good. And And, I'm on a mission to
Well
become
done.
a global speaker. So I know you do some speaking as well. That's why I asked you what the future plans were. I wanted to know, is the speaking the future plans, or is the business the future plan, or is there something else that we don't know of? It's always good to know what's driving people,
Yeah, I think all of it. I don't think I need to choose, but yeah, I love speaking, so I really want to ramp that up a lot. And I think out of that, naturally, I'll be able to coach more, because I do really enjoy that one-to-one experience as well. So a bit of both, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, but that's it. I think when you're obviously a fellow person who likes to help people, and when you like to help people, you can help them in all sorts of different ways. You can help them in information on a podcast, on a YouTube. You can help them speak into a crowd, or you can help them one-on-one in a personal coaching situation.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and just like you, it sounds like we've got similar assets. I've got the podcast as well, so everyone can reach out at any time and listen to it at any point they want as well.
Yeah, there must be something in the Strong, because I'm Armstrong. You do the similar sort of thing, and so does Adam Strong, who I know you know as well, and I've also had on my podcast. So I think they say a lot of people with the surname Baker go on to be bakers, or people do go into fields with a name up. So I think I was massively into sport myself as a youngster, and I'm massively into mental strength now. So that's strong. Maybe there is something in that. Because most of the people I meet with strong in their name are strong. Strong characters.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, I'm very careful with the words I use to describe myself. So if I do something wrong, I don't beat myself up and use negative words. So I suppose it's the law of attraction, but we were born into a name that was quite positive and strong.
Yes.
So it's helped us definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. And so what's your favourite, if you had to pick one out of the different angles of coaching or speaking to people or communicating with people, which is the one you prefer to do most?
Gosh, that's a tough one. It depends on my mood, really. Like sometimes I just love sitting down with somebody with a quite an intricate problem and helping and unravel it for them. But other times I just like, talking about what I've been up to or what I'm going to be doing. So if I had to pick one for the rest of my life, that's a really hard question. I'm going to say speaking, just because hopefully after the speaking, I can then still chat with people one-to-one afterwards. It's a bit of a cheat. Yeah, I go speaking.
Okay, brilliant. And what
about yourself? Which one would you do?
So podcasting to me has been like, I started at the end of April, and I don't know why I haven't been doing it all my life, because I've been blogging for 15 years. So I do a lot of blogging and sharing content and stuff, but I'm a talker. My nan was from Dublin, and my nan was a talker, and she could talk a lot more than I can. And I belong to an Irish network as well, and it's great for me because I'm not just the only talker. Whereas in Wales, I'm the talker. But I just find I like helping people. I got a lot of information and a lot of stuff that I like to talk about, and a lot of people I can help people, a lot of things I can help people with. And I just find podcasting is just a great way of getting out there to the world. It takes I can do a podcast in a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. So, and you haven't got to do no typing. You just press a button on the phone and talk into it. It's amazing. I find that amazing. So maybe I should get a radio show.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm open. Anyone who's listening. But I was going to ask you as well. What's the favourite problem you like to solve?
Gosh, what's the favourite problem? The harder the better. I do like quite a technical
problem. A challenge, yeah.
So yeah, and I like something that's flummoxed anybody before. So I like a little bit of mindset around limiting beliefs, or something that's really, really sticky and no one can get out of. Yeah. So I really like that sort of problem.
That's again with me. The harder the challenge, the better. I think I've actually come alive in lockdown, because this is like one of the biggest challenges that human beings have ever faced. And to me, I'm one of those people. Apparently, the Armstrong name, I don't know where the Strong name come from. The Armstrong name come from somebody picking up a king in battle with one arm, putting him onto the horse. That's where. And to me, I wish I'd been around in like the knights' times or whatever, when there were battles. So to me, I just think like that's when like you could really be determined and show your worth. And I like a battle. And when something like this happens, to me, it's like, all right, now's the time to go into action, like, you know? And I've been doing a lot of stuff. I wrote a book, I've written seminars, I started a podcast, started a YouTube channel. I've done a load of things because it's like, oh, now's the really time to step up, like, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, yeah, a lot of people wait for that cliff edge moment or that pressure to actually do something about it. So I think, lockdowns forced a lot of people to really reconsider and adjust what they need to do. So yeah, it's good to hear you're thriving in it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think life's about taking opportunities as well. And I think the lockdown has given a lot of people opportunities to do new things and try new things. And I'm into technology, and I help people with like digital marketing and things like CRM systems and technology and how to use that. And some people, you could tell them a billion times, you should be going online, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and they were dragging their heels. And all of a sudden, lockdown come along, forced them all online. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
There's so many business people. It's great for me to see. They're all gone online. Every single business person I know has now got an online offering.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great to to see that. It's great to see that people. The thing is, there's certain generations, especially, who weren't introduced to technology at a young age. And then they were frightened of it. And I've actually, one of the things I do as a consultant myself is help people to embrace technology and learn how to update their website themselves on WordPress, or learn how to do LinkedIn or their social media or that sort of stuff. But a lot of people just, they lose the will to want to try new things. And sometimes when forced into it, like most human beings, we're very good at doing stuff when we're forced into doing it. But you sometimes just got to work on the mindset to want to do it, not under force. Yeah, and that's where,
it's that fixed growth mindset, isn't it? Like, people who are fixed mindset are stuck, can't see other opportunities as well. So it's about feeding our growth mindset to always be open to other options.
Yeah, how do you work with clients who aren't open to other options? So do you work with them? Do you work with them on their mindset, or do you think, listen, that's too much for me to deal with,
Naturally, they're not attracted to me. So people who want to work with me, it's obvious my personality and what I stand for. So people who don't want to work on change will find someone else to work with naturally. But, I do my best. I have had clients in the past who have got to a certain point and then stopped. But it's not up to me to force them. It's always their decision. So I'll work with where they stop and find out if they want to progress, making them aware what that means. But if they want to stay where they are, making them aware of what the consequences are as well. So, there's never a right or wrong size. We can't grow forever. There is a certain level, but it's about making sure that they grow their business to make sure it doesn't impact their businesses or their life as much. But yes, if they are fixed in some level, it's their decision. I can't force anyone. Like, have you ever tried to make your partner do something she doesn't want to do? It's impossible. So
I'm divorced. I'm divorced. The best not to cover that subject, because I couldn't make my partner sell the house that I wanted to sell to downscale after the global credit crunch. So we split up. So no, it's very difficult to make people to do stuff they don't want to do. But,
so that's why I'm planning business as well.
Yes, definitely, and obviously you like to speak at events and that sort of stuff. Have you got any events coming up that we should be aware of?
Nothing massive at the moment. I've got an event in an hour actually at 5:00 online about how to do business in the new normal. I've got another event on Sunday. I'm talking in a South African event for an international adventurer as well. So she's bringing me down to South Africa for 6,000 people. And that's what, lockdowns allowed us to do, is, speak internationally.
Yes.
But nothing else apart from that for the short term. But I do hope it picks up again by the end of the year.
Yeah. Do you do any like webinars or any of that sort of stuff where you put your own event on and speak at them, or train or master classes or masterminds, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I do host a mastermind. So it's £50 a month, and people can call in, and once a month we have a big chat about a certain topic and support for the rest of the month. Yeah. And for my own summits, my next summit is in October. So I'm going to be launching one there for Black History Month. and bringing on some of the lesser known adventurers, but still just as hugely successful, and chatting about the history of African Americans in sport. So I'm looking forward to that one in October.
So are you more now an adventurer then than a triathlete? Is that, it seems to be you're focusing more on that adventure niche?
Yeah, I think I am. I mean, I love triathlon, but I just like going freestyle. And triathlon, there's a certain distance, there's a certain competition, and if I want to go cycling in Wales, I can. I don't have to wait for a race, and it's just I'd much prefer adventuring for that freedom.
Yeah. And have you met Richard Parks?
I did a long time ago. We did a chat. We did talk at an event together, but I haven't met him recently. But he is on my radar. I'd love to catch him.
I would say you should definitely reach out to him on LinkedIn or something, and you'd have some. He's done some amazing things himself, like in the adventure area, and I think you'd be great speaking to him. In fact, I'd love to get him on my podcast. Richard, if you're listening, come on the podcast. I've had quite a few sports people on there because it's one of my biggest passions outside of business and sport is what I love. So I love to get people on. Sports people always got a similar sort of mentality to me. Go hard or go home. Reach for the skies. That positive mental attitude and all of that. So it's always good. As my podcast is called You Can Do It, and it's positivity motivational. So I love to get positive, motivated people on to share with my audience, really. So what's the one trick or technique or something that you picked up, maybe from a coach, or maybe from just being in professional sports, or from going on some wild adventures? What's the one thing that sort of you think is the big thing that I learned that I'd love to make sure as many people around the planet learn the same thing?
It's a very simple word, and I don't think anyone, not enough people actually put enough weight onto it, and the word is integrity. Like, if we actually did what we said we do, we'd be achieving so much more in our life, we'd have so much more time, and the world would be a lot better as well. So, the one thing I've learned a lot is if the plan says do it, I do it. Like what you were saying at the beginning of this podcast, that, every day you've committed to an indoor and an outdoor session, regardless of the weather, you have to do it. That's called integrity. And, a lot of people don't reach their goals is because they can't be bothered today, and they let it slip. And then they don't feel like it, and they feed all the excuses, and they're pushing away their goal and their dream. And if we all just started to do what we said we'd do, we'd not only succeed, but as I said, we could clean up the mess that we're living in as well.
Yeah, definitely. Another big one that I like is Grant Cardone 10X. Yeah, I used to call it think big before I met Grant Cardone. But I literally was re-listening to him the other day, and I committed that I wanted to do a minimum one podcast a day. And then more recently, I've been doing about 3 a day. And then I was listening to the 10X, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to commit to 10 times what my original was. So I'm going to do 10 a day, because my original was 1 a day. So I did 9 the first day. That was the day before yesterday. I did 5 yesterday. Average 10. I don't have to do 10 every day because it's just too hard in time, balancing time and that. So I think I'm on about 5 or 6 again today. So I'm going to do quite a lot tonight, but I'll catch up on the weekend as well, quite a bit. But the reason I like the 10X thinking is basically it's just, go large, and, eventually, even if you don't reach that massive goal that you set yourself, you'll still settle somewhere pretty decent. So, that's why I'm aiming to be the best speaker on the planet. I want to be the top speaker on the planet. That's my mission. At least, if not the top speaker in my space. I'll settle for that. But if I don't get that, I know I'll at least become a top speaker in the UK. So if you aim to go and be a top speaker in the UK, you might just miss out on that and not quite be the top speaker in the UK. If you aim to be in the globe, then you are much more likely to be the best in the UK. So I think that's a bit of a sort of athlete's winning mentality, isn't it? Go hard,
Yeah, definitely. It's something I do. I mean, for me to be my best, I have to aim to be the best. That's quite a lot of what I say all the time. So, I aim to be number 1 in the world before I'd even done a triathlon. So, yeah, I wasn't attached to the goal. I just knew I wanted to see how far I could go and, to find my better self.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, it's important that we build in downtime, like, you know, because part of our journey is also recovery and enjoying where we are. We can't, you know, I really value Grant Cardone and other people like that, but we can't keep 10xing all the time. It's unsustainable. Something may break, our health may break, our relationship may break. So we do need to build that 10x downtime as well.
Yeah, but that's to say, if you 10x everything, then you've got to 10x your rest and recovery as well. So therefore, you can still keep going. So that's something I factored in myself in the lockdown. Is I never used to find the time to exercise as much as I wanted to. But now I consider exercise part of my daily work routine.
Yeah.
So therefore, I have to do it because it's what gives you that longevity. So, you know, otherwise, you know, something I always used to when I was managing sales teams and salespeople, I was always very conscious of making sure they didn't have burnout, you know, so give them some time off when they've been, you know, battering targets and whatever. And I think, you know, it took me to the lockdown now, though, to actually really realize that actually I'm not going to turn around and say I'm too busy in work to find time to exercise. Exercise is part of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So that's it.
nice.
So I actually, I really aspire to be a Grant Cardone, but a me of the UK, but that type of figure. Is there somebody that you look up to and sort of aspire to be? Is there anyone up there?
I don't really have a role model or someone I look up to, because a philosophy I've really embedded in my life is everyone I meet, be it from the beggar, from the mother on the street, from the little kids walking to the shops, everyone's got something magical in their life I can learn from. So whenever I meet someone, I'm looking for that gold in what I can learn and be, you know, inspired by from them. So
Yeah.
for me, every person I meet is inspirational to me. So, you know, it may not be their whole life, but they've done something magical that I've never done that I can learn from. So I don't really have any of those type of big role models,
No.
but I just try and bring it into every day that I'm living.
Oh, that's brilliant. And until 2017, so 4 years ago, I was pretty much the same. I used to meet a lot of people and I would take a bit of gold off all of them. I met a lot of top entrepreneurs and just top people, you know, good salespeople and good managers, bad managers. You know, sometimes you take a bit of gold, like I like that, I'll do that. And then sometimes you take a bit of gold, oh, I hate that, I'm never going to do that. You know, and actually I learned more off people like that than I did off the good ones sometimes. You know, but so yeah, you know, everyone's got something to offer and something you can learn from, etc. But all of a sudden, one day in 2017, I met somebody who I thought, actually, he's more or less living the life I want to be living. He's just 20 years older. So it's quite good if you can find somebody who's actually been there, done it, and that, because there is a blueprint. There's a blueprint that you can follow. And I've been all over that. I've been all over the blueprint. That's probably why I wrote my book and why I've done the podcast and all the rest of it, because it's all part of a blueprint that I know can work and can get you to where you want to get to. And they were all things I wanted to do anyway, but they're things I know I got to do, you know, because of the blueprint.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, good on you for finding your blueprints.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, I find a blueprint that I think, okay, well, I can do that, but my mentality always is, well, if I can do that and copy that, what do I do on top of it then to beat it? Because you know, all you've got to do is look at what the best are doing and beat them, and then you could be the best, can't you? That's how you become a world champion.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, or in your case particularly, you know, you sort of did it quite quickly. So you probably wasn't studying the whole sector and the sport and all of that. You probably didn't do too much of that. You probably just did the best that you could do, and it happened to be the best that anyone could do.
I very really look at, you know, the competitors, so to speak. I don't see them as that. It's just turning up every day and doing my best. And some days my best is awesome, and the days my best is pretty small. But you know, on that day, my best was number one. So I'll take it. But I'm not bothered if I came 10th. I'd have been happy because my best would have been 10th.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, so why is it you think that you're best in that particular instance when you were sort of fairly new to the sport? Why do you think your best was the best? What was it down to training? Was it down to genetics? Was it down to willpower? You know, the mentality. What was it that you think, on reflection, was the reason why you won it? Like, you know?
Like I think all of it counts. I mean, it was something, I was doing it purely for the love of it. So if we do things from our hearts, we're bound to succeed on some level because the universe will conspire to help us. So I had no other agenda other than to enjoy it. So for that reason, I wasn't tense, I didn't run hard, and it was just fun. By that time, I was also whole food plant-based. So, I don't eat meat or animal products at all, which helped my body immensely, being able to, remove asthma from my life. It helped my muscles improve and also strengthen. So I was in optimal physical performance as well. And yeah, mentally wise, I was just ready for it. I was very zone, like you hear about in the zone. I was very much in the zone. So I didn't worry about the future. I didn't need to worry about the marathon coming up in the run later, or I didn't think about the past, about that I didn't finish first in the swim and, wasted some time in transition. I was just in the now. Every minute, every second was my best second. And add all of those seconds up and I finished at the end, number one. But if I got absorbed in the past, I would have slowed down because I'd have been regretting stuff, or if I was worried about the future, I might have slowed down as well. So yeah, I think the mental, the meditation really helps. So it wasn't actually the muscle work, it was all the stuff that we think is not important. Yeah. The meditation, as I said, eating really healthily and clean, making sure my mental state was in the right position, and yeah, doing the training obviously helped, but all the other stuff really got me over the line first.
Okay. On that subject matter, the veganism, if you like, there is a lot of people out there who think if you lack the meat protein, etc., then that can actually affect your muscles and that sort of stuff. So so what you're saying there is actually you felt that was an advantage to you at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it's scientifically proven that we don't need animal products. The only thing that they mention, that is mentioned that we can't produce ourselves is vitamin B12. But 95% of all animal products that are on the market in the UK don't produce vitamin B12 either, because they get it from the soil and they need to be injected with it. So, they're taking supplements in order for us to have the vitamin B12. So it's complete BS, if I have to, if I can use that word. Yeah. Not only from my own life, but now scientifically proven that animal products are not needed to eat in any way, shape or form for our health. I mean, I've been vegan, 6-7 years, and I don't look sick. I hope. I'm 41 years old, so I look fine. I do dye my hair, but that's the only sort of fake thing I do.
I would say you don't look 41. I'm 42, but I'd say you don't look 41. So yeah, whatever you're doing is obviously working.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I just invite people to look into it and find some science reports that aren't there's a really good book called The China Study that actually carries out studies over 200,000 Chinese people in obviously different regions outside of China, and they isolated different cancers and diseases directly linked to meat products. So, on a personal level, I felt the difference, but there's also proof out there now to state that unfortunately, the meat that's been offered does cause dis-ease within our body, and it does take longer to break down as well. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for avoiding any type of animal-based product at all, and to find alternates, because go towards nature. Fruits and vegetables, grains and nuts, everything's got some element of protein, so we will never be short of protein. I can hand on heart say that if we eat a balanced whole food diet.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And yeah, just before we leave then, I'll always ask something personal as well, really. So outside of the working environment, what is it that you like to do then to relax, or in your downtime? What do we see Kate Strong doing on a weekend when she's trying to relax or whatever?
Well, my boyfriend and I, it's been hard through lockdown, obviously, because, everything's sort of changed. But my boyfriend and I love reading and walking in nature. So we do quite a lot of times when we leave the mobile phone and all electronics at home and just go for a walk in a forest, or now we can adventure out. We go to, the seaside and sit by the ocean and, yeah, just reflect and write our journals, or read a book. So it's quite boring. Oh, and I cross stitch. I didn't know if you knew that. So if I can show you, this is what I've done in lockdown. So I've got a new niece. I've just made her a little cross stitch.
Oh, lovely. Nice. That's very sort of therapeutic. A lot of people do like to do something with their hands, if you like, while they're watching telly or just thinking,
Yeah,
meditating and that, but just to keep themselves busy. And yes, lots of people find it therapeutic, don't they? So but a lot of those things you talked about, they're quite earthy, quite sort of calm,
yeah,
calming and
grounding.
yeah,
Yeah.
grounded and in one with nature and spirituality. You can see that, it's all of those things together.
Mm.
And it's obviously working for you. So keep it up and well done. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
thanks very much for coming on my podcast and having a great chat with me about all the different things that make you you. And
Thank you,
yeah,
Michael, for the opportunity.
no problem. And I'll give you the link and everything once I've published it and shared it, etc. I'll send you the link and you can do with it what you want to as
Yeah,
well. But other than
happy
that, there's nothing else left for me to say now other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening.